All right, SCM Nation, I want to know, what's the comic that did it for you? I'm not talking like that. Get your mind out the gutter. This is a family-friendly channel for the most part. I'm talking about the one that solidified your fandom. And I'm not necessarily talking about the very first comic you read. I'm talking about the one that made you say, holy shit, what just happened? Or, holy shit, that was fantastic. Please let me know in the comments. The one that did it for me was X-Men number 25. And we're about to get into it. If you are new to the channel, my name is Dorian. This is SCM Comics, and we are covering the complete Fatal Attraction series. The link to the playlist will be in the description. So to give you a quick recap, Magneto, who was always on the one, was on a major one and tried to crash his space station Avalon that used to belong to Cable into the Earth. But fortunately for us, Professor Xavier was there and sent him packing. I said us like, you know, this is real something. But the world took notice. That's why you see the President of the United States talking to Nick Fury, so you know it's serious. The Cold War is over, so the President of the United States is talking to the Russian president, and they have what's called the Magneto protocols. We are definitely about to get into what that is. So they send it over to Nick Fury, and Nick Fury goes to Forge, because I guess Forge is the one who built this. And Nick Fury is like, I don't think this is going to work. And Forge is like, well, there's one way to find out. And he pushes the button, and all these satellites that are around the world start to charge up and start sending this laser beam all around the world, and it covers it. Pretty much what it does, it disrupts the EM field of the Earth, so that if Magneto comes back down to Earth, his powers are negated greatly. And let me just say, get off track for a little bit. I used to get in an argument all the time with people back in the 90s where I will always try to say like Magneto is the biggest bad guy there is. And people, you say, oh, well, what about Dr. Doom? Okay, for one thing, I do love Dr. Doom. And he messed with the whole world. But it never got to the point to where the world says, we're going to set up something to where he does not come back. That's how much Magneto scared the world. They don't want him to come back. So, you know, Magneto's having none of this. And he is such in tune with his powers that he can go out into space without a spacesuit and it's just fine. So he goes down into the EM field. In the comic book, they said he said a prayer to a god he no longer believes in, which was deep, and then he takes it out by creating a huge EMP that decimates the Earth. So first they show the Fantastic Four, and the Thing is coming out of the bathtub yelling at Reed Richards thinking he did something, and he was like, why you always gotta do something when I'm taking a bubble bath? And I'm thinking to myself, a bubble bath? But are you really gonna talk to a 6'7", 500-pound rock monster smoking on a cigar? I don't think so. And Reed is telling Ben that it was a pulse wave that he'd never felt before. I mean, it was that powerful. Then they cut to California and the pulse waves devastating there. They cut to Japan and they show Sunfire flying and it knocks him out of the sky. They go to England where they show Nightcrawler and Captain Britain drinking tea, and next thing you know, everything goes black. I mean, the only people that are not affected are the X-Men, and the only reason why they're not affected is because they have Shi'ar technology. So this one act took planes out the sky, knocked off life support machines in hospitals completely out. I mean, messed with traffic lights, so there's probably thousands of accidents. I mean, Magneto is responsible for thousands upon thousands of deaths with this one act. Now, Charles Xavier is a very patient man, but everybody has a breaking point, and he knows what time it is. He knows that humanity's not just going to blame Magneto for this. They're going to blame all of mutant kind. Every mutant's going to catch hell for this. He knows it, and he also knows that he needs to do something about it. So he goes up to his X-Men, and he's pretty much like, we got to roll up on Magneto, but we ain't going to roll like we normally do, like deep as hell. Nah, we going to roll with a small team, a 6. It's him and Jean, it's Wolverine, and it's Gambit, and it's Quicksilver and Rogue. Now, why would you send Wolverine in to deal with the master of magnetism? Just think about the very first X-Men movie.
You must be Wolverine. That remarkable metal doesn't run through your entire body, does it?
He has owned Wolverine throughout his publication. As good old JR would say, he whoops him like a government mule every time. Now, he has Jean there because it takes a lot of his power just to power that suit. So his mental capacity ain't what it would normally be if he just went up there and, rocked the wheelchair. But in saying that, Jean is questioning everything he does, and there's a reason for that, because Professor Xavier is not in his right mind. Now, it's not just Jean questioning Professor Xavier. Almost everybody is questioning Professor Xavier, because the way he sounds and the way he's acting and sounding like he's about to do something that he thought he would never in life do, but it has come to that point where he's willing to do it. So now the team flies up to Avalon and they get into the space station, and they get in with very little resistance. And the reason being is because Colossus, the man who turned his back on the X-Men, who wants nothing to do with Xavier because he blames him for his sister's death, also saw what Magneto did. And when it's all said and done, Colossus is a good person, and he just can't condone that many people dying at somebody's hands. So at this moment, he's siding with Xavier. So the only real resistance they run into is Rusty and Skid. Now, if you wonder why Rusty and Skid's there, if you even know who Rusty and Skids are, it's really not important. But that was in X-Force number 25, which we covered. All you gotta do is go to the playlist. But they're pretty much saying how Magneto's helped him, which he did, because Strife had him under mind control and Magneto freed him under mind control. And Jean is trying to talk to him, like they normally do. And Professor Xavier just goes and is like, we ain't got time for this, children. Wow, let's put some sleep. Mental KO. I mean, typically, Professor Xavier is trying to do all he can to try to find a peaceful resolution to any situation. So this shows how fed up he is, and also, too, how far gone he is when it comes to this. So if you go back to X-Force number 25, Avalon is Cable's ship. That's the ship that they're in right now. Magneto took it from him. So it has all kinds of crazy futuristic technology, including body slide. That's what Cable did to get his team up out of there before Magneto handled him, and he handled Cable. It was ugly. But Professor Xavier knows about this technology, so he got with Colossus and he was able to body slide or teleport all the acolytes up out of there, especially Exodus. He didn't want nothing to do with Exodus. He wanted nothing to do with him. So he made sure that Exodus was off the table before he had to go deal with Magneto. So now it's just Magneto and the X-Men. So they get to fighting. Wolverine jumps at Magneto. He just swats him away because, again, why would you send somebody with metal claws or metal skeleton to fight the master of magnetism? So the reason why the other X-Men are there is they're going to try to get Magneto's helmet off. His helmet blocks any kind of mental manipulation that Jean or Professor Xavier can do. So they're trying to do whatever they can to try to knock off his helmet. Gambit throws his playing cards. Magneto pretty much takes up some metal shard, hits him right in the mouth, just takes him right out. Now, Rogue distracts Magneto just enough so that Quicksilver came and he knocked off his helmet. So Magneto is sitting there and he's like, dude, I got the world against me, I got the X-Men against me, and now I got my own son against me. And he's just tired and he's about to handle Quicksilver. I mean, he's about to do what he did to him in House of M like 10 years early. But then Wolverine comes out of nowhere and he gets Magneto. I mean, he gets him really good, and Magneto is hurt, and Magneto is pretty much done. Now, to his credit, he says, we've been doing this song and dance for a long time, Wolverine, and you are my most visceral enemy, but also one of my most respected foes, because Wolverine understands what time it is with Magneto, but he's never scared and he never backs down from him, and Magneto respects that. But right now, it's over. And he reaches in and he just starts pulling out his adamantium out of all parts of his body. It is ridiculously gruesome and horrifying. Now, just like Magneto just lost it, Professor Xavier just loses it. And he is done playing with Magneto. His helmet is off. He picks up Magneto and he's like, I'm done playing these games. Just like you just ended Wolverine, I'm about to end you. And he reaches into his mind and he shuts him down, takes out everything out of Magneto's mind, takes it into himself, and turns Magneto into a vegetable. And I know before you guys go into the comments and be like, he's not really a vegetable, he's just in a vegetative state. Don't play with me. So Jean is trying to hold Wolverine together with her mental powers. Professor Xavier has pretty much passed out from the whole experience, and Rogue got him, and Colossus comes out and picks up Magneto, and the team's like, you coming with us? He's like, somebody gotta be here to take care of him, and I'm gonna do that. And that is how the comic book ends. So many things change for the X-Men because of the things that happened in this comic book. So many things change in the Marvel universe because of the things that happen in this comic book. It's one of my favorite comic books ever, and if you never read it before, I'm happy to bring it to you for the first time.